traders at UBA expect the T-bills market to remain subdued as investors take position ahead of next week's 104.36 billion Naira T-bills auction. Kenneth Onuoha, Assets and Liabilities Team Member at UBA, joins me now for a weekly wrap of activities. Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's quite the interesting start we have here, but just take us through the highlight of the month of November, which climaxed just a few hours ago, and what we should expect from next week's T-bills auction.
All right. Thank you for having me, David. Very quickly, I'll start off with the money markets. And system liquidity opened on Monday at about 106.47 billion. What happened throughout the course of the week is sometime we received fact during the course of the week, and of course that caused system liquidity to elevate, and of course that transcended naturally into rates, OBB and overnight rate dropping to about 14 and 15% levels. Interestingly, these levels are much lower than the SDF levels that we have been trading for quite some time now. So that happened during the course of the week. Another thing that I must also add is the fact that as a result of the inflow of FAC into the system, remember about 906.9 billion was inflowed into the system. We saw that the CBN did intervene by way of CRR debits that was posted yesterday. And then just a few hours ago, we also experienced CRR debits were posted again today. The whole idea is to find some balance, bring some form of stability into the system. So yes, that would also cause rates to further plummet. To go higher now, as opposed to it dropping based off of what we've seen from the FAC inflow. Having said that, I would quickly switch to the fixed income space, where I'd like to start off with the Treasury bills. This week, Treasury bills have traded pretty much on a quiet note. However, they did have bullish undertones. We saw that there were cherry picking amongst activities occurred around the September and November bills. And of course, everyone's attention is fixed, like you rightly said, fixated on the NTB auction that's supposed to be coming up sometime next week. 104.36 billion is up on offer, and of course activities are right there because we expect that rates naturally would increase in line with what we've seen in the previous NTB auction and OMO auction respectively. In the bond space, similarly to what we've seen in the the Treasury bill space, we've noticed that the activities therein have traded on also a very calm note. However, we have also seen bullish sentiments as well. What we have experienced is that there have been interest in the 32s and the 53 papers. Primarily, that's basically what's happened on the broad space. But all of these bullish sentiments have essentially been as a result of the liquidity influx in the system, as by way of the fact that was inflown into the system.
No doubt the FAC influence has definitely propped up the liquidity bags we have here. But in terms of how investors will be leaning across the T-bills and bond curve, what should we expect for the month of November? December, I beg your pardon.
All right. In the month of December, we expect that, first off, we'll start off with the NTB auction that's coming up. So typically, everybody's attention is fixed there. And in 2 weeks' time, thereafter, we'll then have the bond auction. But we'll start off with watching the space to see what happens to the NTB auction. Remember, the last top rate printed at 16.75%. So we'd expect that those levels will be maintained. And of course, that will be attractive enough for investors to want to key in and buy into the NTB.
And for the Forex market now, how do you see the Naira performing against the greenback? Like I also highlighted in the previous conversation, we've consistently seen this decline. For you, what sort of outlook do you think would pan out?
All right, so the volatility still exists. The week started off at 814 Naira to the dollar. But then by the end of this week, sometime during the week as well, we saw it even rise as high as 881. However, by the end of trading session yesterday, we did notice that the rate dropped to 832.32 Naira to the dollar. Clearly, it is evident that the interplay of the forces of demand and supply would obviously continue to affect the Naira, but we expect that with consistent intervention by the CBN by way of clearing FX backlogs, we would continually see the Naira surge upwards, and that's what we expect in the coming weeks.
Kenneth, thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. That was Kenneth Onuoha, Assets and Liabilities Team Member at UBA.